weird. Something's causing it to go boom every now and then. Boom.
Interesting.
Oh, stop touching the carpet.
Oh no. God damn it, I thought we'd fix this. I thought we'd cut everything.
Okay, what's up guys? I'm Gideon.
I'm Andrew.
And this is the TV
We're not throwing back to you, just say it. You can just say the whole thing.
pilot
I'm not gonna do it.
podcast.
Thank you.
Ooh, that was good.
That was clean.
That was. So, we are 2-2 in legitimate pilots because our first two episodes were not legitimate pilots.
They were just made. They're just part of the actual series. The season 1. The Seinfeld was a pilot. X-Files was a pilot.
And then this one, The Simpsons, was
kind
a
of
pilot.
Sort of. Kind of. There's some controversy. There's
2.5 out of 5.
And we're kind of branching out a little bit from sitcoms because we're already running out of things. No, it's we're desperate.
We just wanted to try to keep the variety for the first few episodes.
Yeah, we'll
before
mix it
we
up.
Get just
get back into traditional sitcoms. Get back into dramas.
Drama, whatever. We're trying to. So we're doing something animated, a whole new medium.
Yeah.
So I had not seen any of the pilots except for the Seinfeld pilot. Andrew has not seen any of the pilots, but he has seen the Simpsons pilot.
I've seen a hell of a lot more than the pilot. Simpsons. Yes. I grew up on the Simpsons.
This was an interesting conversation when I realized that Seinfeld to me was the Simpsons to Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew had only seen a handful of episodes of the Seinfeld. I've only seen a handful of episodes of the Simpsons. I enjoyed them.
The Simpsons was like formative for me.
Explains a lot.
It was one of the greatest. Yeah, my mom hates this,
which is it's funny because I love Futurama. Yeah, Futurama is fantastic. I've seen it like 100 times.
If you love Futurama, you love The Simpsons.
And I remember during one of those every Simpsons episode ever marathons. There was like nothing else on. I just put it on, or maybe I turned it on and it was just on. I remember, but I was just watching an episode. I was laughing. This is the kind of dumb, like smart, dumb humor that they use in Futurama, where it's stupid, but it's very well written stupid to make you laugh.
Yeah,
I was like, makes sense.
And The Simpsons has been such a powerhouse of a show for so long that you could watch it for 24 hours straight, and it would take over a week to watch all the episodes.
Yeah, it's crazy when they have that every episode ever marathon. It's over a week long, and it's every episode just nonstop. It's not like 8 to 8, and then they show whatever. They keep going, and they kind of just say, like, if you want to watch season 6, you're going to have to stay up late. You know? I played some of the video games, Road Rage or whatever.
The Simpsons Hit and Run.
And then the
great video game.
I think there was one with skateboarding, and then I did watch the movie when it came out. My parents took me to see the movie.
Simpsons movie.
I saw Bart's penis. You remember that? 4 minutes into that movie, and they do such a good job of like covering it that you're watching to see what's gonna cover because like a bird comes up, a butterfly, flowers, and you're just like, wow, this is crazy, and then it's just there, just cartoon Bart penis.
And that was the kind of stuff that Simpsons got away with. They were just kind of, and a lot of the comedy that they have seems very tame now with South Park and Family Guy on the air. But early seasons of The Simpsons, it was an animated show that was very raunchy, sort of gory, especially with the Itchy and Scratchy show interludes.
I don't know
okay. But
you have to be like me and Seinfeld and just rein it in.
Okay.
Okay. So speaking of wholesome or raunchy, the first episode I was kind of surprised with how wholesome it was.
It's a Christmas episode.
That threw me off when I went on Disney Plus. Pay us Disney Plus. And it was like The Simpsons Christmas. I was like, but what is this? The first episode?
It's the first episode, and right off the bat, it does something unique. that sort of sets it apart from the others. Can you guess what it is?
Unique?
Yeah.
They showed a child getting a tattoo.
No. The first episode starts, there's no opening. There's no theme song.
A lot of pilots are like that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, it's unique for The Simpsons, who is known for their like very iconic opening. The Simpsons. And then it zooms in, it does the blackboard gag, and then it
Andrew,
goes
I hate to tell you this, but that's every TV series.
It's iconic. It's The Simpsons.
Every TV series.
The couch gag. Where the entire family runs into the house, they all run to the house, and then...
So this, rather than that, this episode, the pilot starts with Homer and Marge driving through the snow, somewhat recklessly, because they're running late for the kids' school Christmas pageant. And so then they wiggle their way into their seats. There's some grade performing, and then they kind of establish how old their kids are by, next up is the second graders, and Marge... Oh, that's Lisa. I'm not okay.
That was a perfect Marge impression.
Was it? It was could have been worse. And so then Lisa shows off kind of how good a student she somewhat is in that she does a really good presentation of a fire throwing Santa Claus that the South Pacific or Islanders believe in or whatever. I don't know how true that is, but and everyone's impressed. And then Bart goes up later and he's singing with his class, and they're singing Jingle Bells, and it shows that Bart is the troublemaker because he does the Batman smells, Robin laid an egg, and gets in trouble with
Seymour Skinner. Principal Skinner.
Yes. And so it shows that Bart can be a troublemaker. Cut to the house later, and the kids are working on letters to Santa, and Marge asks what they're asking for, and Lisa wants a pony, and Bart wants a tattoo. Which are both no-nos because they're
well, the pony doesn't fit in Santa's sleigh.
Yes, Marge tries to be a good parent. Can't take a hint. So then Marge's sister calls and she says, "Hey, we're still coming over on Christmas Eve," and she talks some trash about Homer, and Homer kind of gags at the thought of them coming over. So they don't get along.
Marge's sister Patty calls her and Selma are coming over for Christmas.
Yes,
they are twins. And it's established early that they hate Homer.
And Homer
does not like them.
Homer finishes the Christmas lights and then shows them to the kids, and they just almost all the light bulbs are out, and they're just a couple of them blinking. And then Flanders next door plugs his lights in, and it's just over the top, all these lights and sled on top and all this, and Homer grumbles about that.
Flanders is another character that gets a lot more characterization later in the show. For sure. Yeah.
And so then after that, they're in the morning, they're eating breakfast, and Marge tells the kids that they're going to go to the mall. Homer asks about the Christmas money, and Marge pulls the jar out of her afro,
her tall beehive hair, and they made this joke before anyone else could, because I don't know, it just seems like it's ripe when you have a hair that when you have a character with hair that big that they're just hiding things
in there. Yeah,
they made it immediately. It's like the second scene.
A jar full of money, and that's their Christmas money. And they go to the mall, and she goes to the mall. Homer goes to work, and while they're at the mall, Bart sees a tattoo parlor and wanders on in and starts to try and get some ink.
He wants to get a tattoo that says "Mother." So very nice, very loving. So it cuts to Homer at work at the same time. He finds out from Mr. Burns, the evil billionaire who runs the nuclear power plant where Homer works, that he won't be getting his Christmas bonus next year. And he says, "Oh, thank goodness for the Christmas jar." Cut back to the mall where Marge finds Bart getting a tattoo and has to spend all of the Christmas money from the jar to get it removed. And at the end of the scene, she goes, "Oh, thank God for Homer's Christmas bonus." So a sort of drama, laying up a sort of Gift of the Magi style plot line where, the other kind of the opposite, where the other doesn't know that they're out of money, so they're kind of sets up the conflict for the episode. Mm-hmm. Back at the house, Homer asks about the bandage on Bart's arm and finds out that they spent all their Christmas money getting a tattoo removed. And he freaks out because he doesn't want to tell Marge that he didn't get his bonus and effectively ruined Christmas. Marge tries to ask about it later, but Homer's too ashamed. Instead insists on doing the Christmas shopping on his own this year to sort of hide the fact that they're out of money. And at the mall, he runs into Flanders, who has a bunch of presents, making him feel bad about the cheap presents that he bought. And then he goes to Moe's Tavern to get a drink. And at Moe's Tavern, Barney Gumble?
I don't know.
Okay, Barney, who's another recurring character, gets, tells Homer about the job he's been doing this year, which is Christmas Ball Santa. Homer, a big guy, Barney is a big guy, so they're both, suited to play Christmas Santa at the mall, and Homer decides to do it to try to make some more...
Get some extra cash.
Get some extra cash for Christmas. Gets the job, has to go through training where he finds out he won't get actually paid until Christmas Eve because of some Santa school shenanigans.
Yeah, there's just a couple scenes of him learning to be Santa. But then, yeah.
It's like a Karate Kid style montage where...
I wouldn't go that far, but basically.
Homer gets home late and Marge's sisters are visiting. They make remarks about the lack of Christmas tree, so Homer goes out and steals one. Cut to Homer working at the mall as Santa. Bart's friends unknowingly dare him to go sit on Santa's lap and pull off the beard. Homer takes him aside and tells Bart, after Bart goes up and pulls on Santa's beard, realizes it's Homer, realizes he's in some deep shit. Homer pulls him aside and lets Bart know what's going on. And Bart sort of has this realization that, oh man, Homer must really love our family to, sink so low as to be a Christmas Ball Santa. A little insulting to Christmas Ball Santas. I don't know if they deserve that, but Bart goes with Homer to get his paycheck, which turns out to be only $13 after deduction for all the training and the costume and other things. Barney tells Homer he's going to put his money on a dog at the racetrack. Just sound financial investment knowledge. Bart tells Homer that there's always a Christmas miracle on TV and convinces Homer to go to the racetrack. Again, I don't know how effective this is.
Sound financial advice.
So at the track, Homer decides to put all his money on Santa's Little Helper.
They announced they're switching in a dog last minute for the race.
Yeah. Homer is told by Barney about a sure thing, a dog named Whirlwind. But Homer
Which was, I think, 8-1 odds or something.
8-1 odds, which would have given him, enough money to buy some presents for his kids, especially back in the 1989 when this came out. Santa's Little Helper, he's told, has 9-1 odds. So obviously, betting $13 times 99 means...
And even Bart, who was saying, TV says there's always a Christmas miracle, who's like, I don't know, Dad, but Homer did it anyways.
So they sit there, they watch the race. Of course, Santa's Little Helper comes in dead last. Homer and Bart are both crushed. Cut back to the house where Lisa and Marge and Patty and Selma are decorating for Christmas. Patty and Selma are talking. It could have been either one. I don't really know. I can't tell them apart at this point.
Their hair is different, right?
Their hair is slightly different, yeah. They're talking to Lisa, putting down Homer, and Lisa kind of showing how intelligent she is.
She's like, as a growing young girl, the only, my father plays a big part in how I see men and whatever, and thus myself. So every time you put down my father, it's reflected into how I will grow up.
And Patty or Selma just goes,
Classic.
I assume. Cuts back to the racetrack. Santa's Little Helper has lost. They are both sad. Bart and Homer go out and start looking for tickets on the ground. Just picking
anything
up anything that
could
could
the money.
Yeah, potentially like something people forgot to cash. And while they're out there, they see the owner of Santa's Little Helper yelling at him and kicking him away, trying to get the dog to leave because apparently it's such a bad race dog. The dog runs and jumps right into Homer's arms, and Bart asks if they can keep it, and Homer reluctantly agrees.
At first he's reluctant, but then he says he's a loser. He's stupid. He's a Simpson.
They get home. Homer starts telling them about the situation, but Bart interrupts to tell everyone about the dog. Everyone is super excited about the dog. They think it's a great present, and Christmas is saved. And then there's a credit scene of the family seeing Rudolph poorly. And that's the first episode of The Simpsons.
Yep. Halfway through, I was just like, wow, this isn't...
It's not what you expected, yeah.
It was meh.
Yeah.
There were some good jokes. It picked up towards the end.
Yeah.
But overall, especially knowing that The Simpsons, having seen later episodes, I was just expecting something funnier. Not that it was like poorly written or anything. It's
1989. Like it's one of the longest running American sitcoms on television today.
It is probably if you count animated with, it is the longest running sitcom probably of all time.
It's on 33 seasons, 34 seasons.
34,
yeah. And it's been going for years, just absolute decades long. So
still
obviously
today, yeah.
And it's very I don't know. It's one of the first like animated sitcom shows. Barring the Flintstones and other shows that were specifically for kids. The Flintstones was not like a.
The Flintstones was for kids, right?
Yeah.
So the first animated sitcom is widely regarded to be the Flintstones, which started in 1960, and then 2 years after came the Jetsons, which I guess someone said, oh, well, this show that takes place in the past is doing well. Let's do a family show that takes place in the future. And the Jetsons is also a pretty iconic, classic animated sitcom.
But they are both unambiguously for kids, where The Simpsons is for, not necessarily like an adult specific comedy show. Like I watched it as a kid. I watched it growing up. Maybe my mom did not want me to watch it growing up. She had some definitely had some qualms with me watching The Simpsons growing up, but I did it anyway. But it's definitely not a show that's geared towards children. It's geared towards.
It has vastly more adult humor than it does humor for children.
Yeah,
and I mean there is humor that kids will find funny, but that's more
incidental.
That's just kids knowing what funny is.
Yeah,
even if it's written for adults.
The references and things that they say are definitely
some of the situations as well.
Yeah.
So there were a handful of other animated sitcoms from the 60s to the 80s, but really nothing notable, and not a whole lot. It wasn't until the Simpsons that we kind of saw a boom in animated sitcoms.
Yeah. And there is an old adage in television, and it's like, I don't know how old it is now. It's probably like 20 years old now. That The Simpsons did it first. That's just what people say. That The Simpsons have already done it. It comes from the South Park episode, actually, where Butters is trying to come up with a plot, and every time he comes up with some scheme, he is told that The Simpsons have already done this. The Simpsons have already done this thing. They've already done this thing, and it references, Simpsons episodes where this has already happened. And at the end of the show, the moral is that The Simpsons have already done it. They've been on for 13 seasons already. And keep in mind, this was back in, back when there was only 13 seasons.
Years.
South Park's been on for 2 decades now, and even back then, Simpsons had already cornered the market in terms of adult cartoon comedy. So every show that's come after has been sort of standing in the shadow of this animated sitcom giant. And in the spirit of that, I have a special segment called "The Simpsons Did It First."
Oh God.
Just things The Simpsons did before real life could do them. Real life events predicted by The Simpsons. It's been on for so long that it has people have found where it has started predicting real world events.
Quote unquote predicting.
Recently, there was a campaign to censor Michelangelo's David.
Yes.
Because for anyone who hasn't seen Michelangelo's David,
it's a naked man.
It's a naked man. Was a campaign of censorship this last year about someone showing Michelangelo's David in a classroom.
In a text, I think it was in a textbook it was for an art class.
Yeah, and the teacher got fired and censored, and
the statue isn't vulgar or anything. It's just
it's a naked man
is naked.
Mm-hmm. And so there was sort of a campaign of censorship, some conflict around that. The Simpsons did that in season 2, episode 9, Itchy and Scratchy and Marge, where the whole town campaigns. The statue, Michelangelo's David statue, is on a sort of coastal trip around the United States. It stops in Springfield, and they put denim blue jeans on it. So the Simpsons got to that first. The Simpsons predicted the Trump presidency in the year 2000. So the season 11, season 10, season 11 maybe, they have a scene where Lisa, it's a flash forward and Lisa is the president, and she says something to the effect of, "Oh, we've inherited a real budget crisis from the Trump administration." So people are trying to like math backwards, and it's like if Lisa's this age in 1989, yeah, it would figure out that she actually would be old enough to run for president in 2020. So it could technically have worked out that she was president right after Trump's presidency. There's another thing sort of going around that people show where The Simpsons kind of predict scene by scene Trump's running announcement back in 2015. That's not true. People just sort of show this film, this clip of
him going up the escalator.
Him going down the escalator. Yeah. And it's like picture perfect. It's picture perfect because they did that afterwards, and they had Homer like following him down. So it was sort of a comedic scene, but people will show them side by side with the real inauguration announcement, and then just put the year 2000 on the old one, which was actually made back in 2016. So there's some deceptiveness along with that too, but they actually did predict a Trump presidency in the year 2000. They, in season 10, episode 5, they predict that Disney would purchase 20th Century Fox Studios.
Oh, wow.
Which is the studio that now owns The Simpsons and 20th Century Fox. So they did get that right. But at the time, Disney was buying everything. They bought Marvel, they bought 20th Century Fox, like they got it all. The Siegfried and Roy tiger mauling was predicted by The Simpsons 10 years before it happened. Yep. Which I don't know how prescient that is.
Yeah.
You tell anyone off the street, like, oh, I got these two guys, they capture tigers and make them perform in a magic act. It's like, oh, those guys are going to get mauled soon.
Yeah.
Something that's very unique. Milhouse predicted that Bink Holmstrom would win the Nobel Prize for Economics 6 years before he did. It shows it's a little. It's not even like a gag or anything. It's not focused on. It's just a little card that Lisa is holding. I believe it's Lisa. Mm-hmm. But it shows a little betting pool about who is going to win the Nobel Prize. Milhouse has placed his money on Bengt Holmstrom to win the Nobel Prize for Economics. Obviously, like the Simpsons writers, along with the same writers who do Futurama, they're known for trying to add a lot of like truthfulness, like a lot of honesty to their work. So they do research for even just these short one-frame gags. So it just happens that a famous economist was on the card that Milhouse predicted would win the Nobel Prize in Economics. 6 years later, he did. So it's one of those things that over time, the show has been up for so many years that it's going to get some things right just off of sheer scale.
I mean, The Simpsons is satirical, so it's kind of making jokes about things that are happening at the time.
It's always going to
comment. A lot of those problems are still, or problems or events or situations are still coming up today.
Trump was talking about running for president as early as 1999.
Yeah.
And The Simpsons just made fun of that, like everyone else was making fun of it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, same thing with the Siegfried and Roy tiger mauling. It's basically the only thing people talked about Siegfried and Roy for, is that they are about to get mauled by a tiger. Michelangelo's David censorship, that has been...
Oh, censorship's been a thing in the U.S. for hundreds of years.
Oh, I mean, even in the 1600s, popes put fig leaves over the statue. Yeah. So it's not at all out of the ordinary.
Matt Groening isn't omnipotent.
He's only a really good sitcom writer. He's not omnipotent.
Yes.
Just give him all the credit he deserves.
Understands societal problems.
Yeah. If anything, he is an excellent satirist.
Yes.
Satirist.
Cartoonist.
That's
how he started. He was a cartoonist.
So yeah, that's it. The Simpsons did it.
Simpsons did it first.
So I can't believe why you haven't seen it yet. Because why would you watch Pale Imitations when you could watch the real thing?
I've seen some episodes.
Cool.
So The Simpsons, there was a show back in the 80s called The Tracy Ullman Show, and a producer named James L. Brooks. It was a variety show. He worked on it. He wanted to include small animated shorts to bookend the commercials. And so, being a fan of Matt Groening's cartoons, comic strips, I already forgot what it's called, Life in Hell, I think is what it was. He approached Matt Groening about creating animated shorts based off of those. And Matt Groening was all for it until it kind of hit him. Making these shorts would involve rescinding publication rights for what were at that point his life's work. And so, sitting in the lobby of the producer's office, he frantically was trying to think of another idea, and he just came up with the idea of a shorts about a dysfunctional family, and that became The Simpsons. And so, the Simpsons family appeared in 1987, 2 years before the first episode aired, as these little shorts, these little 30-second shorts that came on before a commercial, after a commercial, before a commercial, after a commercial for this variety show. In fact, Tracy Ullman, she filed a lawsuit against The Simpsons, claiming that the characters came from her show and that she should get a share of the profits. But it was the case was thrown out or dismissed or whatever.
Good, yeah.
I watched a handful of the shorts. They're on YouTube, all 30-something, 35, 45. When Matt Groening, when he submitted sketches for the first episode, I guess, for the shorts. And he thought they would be cleaned up, but the animators traced over his drawings, his little quick sketches, and that's why if you go to YouTube and find these, it starts off they're really kind of not weird looking, but they're just very different from The Simpsons you will find in that first episode. Groening stated his goal for the show was to create an alternative to, quote, the mainstream trash that audiences were watching.
Really tried to raise the level of discourse with The Simpsons, huh?
I've only seen the first episode, and then I don't know if you'll be able to tell what season it is by the couple of episodes I've seen. It's the one where Homer is boxing because he has something in his brain that he can't fall down. So they just win a bunch of money because he can't get knocked out.
I would say one of the first 10 seasons, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, but with later Simpsons, it's definitely not as saccharine as a lot of TV was back then. With Full House, that was the 90s, and that's a lot more wholesome. Cheers was usually on the more wholesome side. So that mainstream trash.
Yeah, Simpsons will
Like, this first episode was nice, but yeah, there were, like, he strangled Bart at the end.
yeah, and you hear it. Every other scene, you see it where, you know, it's white little, and then shows Bart getting strangled by Homer.
The season 1 averaged over 27 million US viewers, with the lowest episode getting still over 20 million, and the highest getting 33.5 million.
Wow.
And that's part of why Tracy Ullman sued. She was saying the success is from my show.
Who? Tracy Ullman who? God.
Yeah. Matt Groening and Brooks, the producer Brooks, have been executive producers for all 34 seasons. And still have some creative input even now. I don't know how involved they are, but they are still...
I know Matt Groening has moved on to other projects, not just as executive producer, but as writer. Futurama, obviously, and then Disenchanted afterwards.
Oh, true, yeah.
The recent Netflix show.
I saw the first season, haven't seen.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard it's still...
the first season's strongest, but it does keep it up.
Dan I don't know how to say his last name. Dan Castellaneta and Julie Kavner, who voice Homer and Marge respectively, were part of the Tracy Ullman Show cast.
Ooh.
And so they got these roles because they didn't want to have to find more people than necessary.
Who played Bart? Nancy Cartwright? Do you know?
I think so. So. Originally, the girl who plays Lisa was auditioning for Bart, but her voice was a little too high.
Yeah.
And then the girl who plays Bart was going to audition for Lisa, but at the time, Lisa wasn't really a fleshed out character.
Yeah.
So but Bart was, because Bart is somewhat based on, so the family dynamic, or the family names are based on Matt Groening's family.
Yeah.
Except he replaced his name with Bart, which is the anagram for brat. And so he had fleshed out that Bart was a troublemaker and, rapscallion kind of kid. And so because he actually seemed to have a personality, Nancy wanted to audition for him. And as soon as Matt Groening heard her audition, he said, yeah, you've got
That's her, yeah.
Like I said, it was started off slow. I was confused why they kept going. Obviously, I know it's good now, but like you and Simpsons and Seinfeld, it was kind of like, I don't know if I would keep watching this.
Right.
But it did pick up. There were some good jokes, like when Lisa asks for a pony, Marge says, "You've asked for the last 2 years, and he can't fit. He can't fit in his sleigh. You've asked for the last 2 years. Can't you take a hint?" And when Bart walks into the tattoo parlor, he says, "Yeah, one tattoo, please." And the guy is like, "Wait, how old are you?" And Bart just says, "21, sir. And get in the chair." It's like, okay, well enough. When he asked for a tattoo for the Santa letter, Homer, they're like, "Oh, you can't get a tattoo." And Homer's like, "Yeah, those are expensive. You get a tattoo with your own money." Mark, Homer!
There are a lot of good. There's some good jokes. Definitely, it's one of the weaker episodes. Which, it's pilot.
Yeah.
You can't always start off with your best foot forward, because sometimes it takes a while to really flesh out these characters, and a lot of the comedy comes with the familiarity you have with how the character reacts to certain things.
Yes. True.
And you anticipate their reactions before they even happen. You can't do that with a fresh set of
characters. Just like, with Seinfeld, I feel like I enjoyed the Seinfeld pilot a lot more because I knew George and I knew Kramer. These weren't weird things for them to do. They were funny because that's exactly what George would do in this situation.
We came to an understanding here. Me watching The Simpsons, I was like, "Oh, I get it." Like, I'm watching this. Okay. I'm watching this from a very nostalgic point of view, where I'm just like, I love seeing these characters again. Mm-hmm. And you're, I'm not watching it with a cynical eye. Like, how did this show even get made? I hate Jerry Seinfeld.
So as what changes as an expert, Andrew? I know Homer gets dumber.
Homer gets dumber, and the characters get a little flanderized. Like Bart gets more outgoing with his pranks and jokes. Like he's not just a troublemaker. He's like destructive. And
he's Dennis the Menace.
He's our generation's Dennis the Menace.
Yeah.
he says that in an episode.
He's of the previous generation and our generation and the next generation's Dennis the Menace. 34
generations of Dennis the Menace. He says, "I'm this generation's Dennis the Menace." He says that in season 5, Cape Fear.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cape Fear. Oh God, they did an episode called Cape Fear.
Yeah, it's Sideshow Bob.
Of course it's
paroled from prison and is going to murder Bart. And he keeps sending Bart letters like "Die Bart Die," things like that. And Bart's like, "Who would want to kill me? I'm this generation's Dennis the Menace." Perfectly assessing its own.
Does Lisa get more intelligent, you think?
Lisa gets more intelligent, and she gets more she gets more political. She becomes a vegetarian, things like that. So she sort of trends more towards this mold of like good student with environmental mindset. She's a vegetarian. She plays the saxophone, the jazz saxophone, which is established later in this season. She meets her mentor in the saxophone,
Bill Clinton.
Sends her into a political career.
Or is she the reason Bill Clinton played the saxophone? Because the Simpsons.
Oh.
Anyways,
so the big thing that changes really is that you see more people. The Simpsons as a show, it's all about the extra cast. Yeah. There is a huge, absolutely massive cast of other characters that are
Captain, the police chief,
Chief Wiggum,
Krusty the
Clown, Sideshow
Skinner,
Bob, Seymour Skinner, and Superintendent Chalmers. Skinner's mother, who lives with him.
Yes.
Martin Prince,
Ralph
Wiggum, Burns, C. Montgomery Burns, and his assistant Smithers.
Smithers. Smithers.
There is the boys at Moe's Pub.
Oh yeah.
Moe's Bar is Mo Sizlak, Barney, and
the kids also with
Milhouse, Martin Prince.
Who's that guy?
I'm in danger, Ralph Wiggum. Chief Wiggum's son.
Not
always intended to be Chief Wiggum's son. It just sort of happened.
Interesting.
Had a different voice. A lot of the characters change until they find their.
I feel like with minor characters that happens quite a bit.
There are other people who kind of add a dynamic to it. The mobsters, Fat Tony, and the rest of the mob. Apu, the convenience store clerk.
That's something I feel like that happens with Futurama a lot. Minor characters who pop in and then just keep coming up, and they add a whole a lot of humor and they make the show even better.
Exactly,
like Zap Brannigan, others.
They're characters that maybe show up for an episode here when the Simpsons need to do something related to that, but they stay. They keep in the Simpsons world until they're effectively populating the town of Springfield with known people, known quantities.
Yeah. So I feel like the pilot hinted at Bart being a mischievous little boy, Lisa being far more intelligent than you would expect a child that age to be. But Homer never comes across as an idiot, I don't think.
He's just sort of
he's a goofy dad.
And he's
maybe not good at things, but
he turns on the lights and they don't work.
But that doesn't make him an idiot.
Yeah.
So does Homer? Do you think Homer has the biggest change throughout the series?
I would say yeah. They made Homer a lot less intelligent and a lot. They give him some very sympathetic moments in episodes where he showed as really caring about his kids.
Yeah.
But overall, he's shown as very he becomes less and less intelligent and more obsessed with food and Duff beer and
It's fair. Yeah, he's at the bar, but he's at the bar just because
it's a rough day. Yeah, it's a rough day.
He's not downing beers and gorging himself or anything.
Yeah. But that does it. it takes like 4 or 5 seasons for them to sort of settle into these roles, and sometimes you see, they dip way down. Like Lisa is, for an episode, way smarter than she usually is, just because they need her to be. They need that episode. But she's always portrayed as intelligent. Or Bart is, like, for an episode, very destructive, when usually he's just sort of he's a prankster, because they need Bart to go to juvenile hall for some reason. Like the characters are as extreme as the writers need them to be. And it works because they've established in the past that these characters are, smart or prankster, or it holds up. They're not out of character for them to do these things.
In the shorts from the Tracy Ullman show that they had 2 years before, from the few I saw, I feel like they didn't have Lisa. You could tell Lisa didn't have as much of a personality in them. Yeah. Bart was still somewhat a troublemaker. In fact, they both were they were doing in one of them, the whole minute and a half of the shorts was them doing a burping contest, and Marge keeps barging in and saying, like, stop burping, it's gross, it's gross. And Lisa's all there for it as well, and laughing.
And Lisa, like, she's portrayed as very intelligent, but she's not portrayed as, like, a goody two-shoes. Like, she definitely breaks the rules, and she goes off and does, like, very political stunts, where, she'll, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but she's not a rule follower. She's just smart, and she knows that sometimes it's better to follow the rules than do destructive pranks, but she'll still have,
in those shorts, it felt like she was just going along with whatever Bart was doing for the most part. Just like I said, I only saw the first 5 or 6, and then I watched like the last 2.
Yeah. So all in all, what do you think of the Simpsons episode?
That's a good question. It wasn't what I was expecting.
Give me an out of 10.
But I don't know. What do I rate the other things?
X-Files was 10 out of 10. For you.
It was no X-Files pilot.
It was no X-Files. Okay.
I would say 6.5 ish.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Around what Animal Control was in that. It did a good job of establishing these characters somewhat. It had some good jokes. Yeah. But it was nothing to write home about.
Yeah, I would say 5 or 6 out of 10, and that's like out of all the Simpsons episodes.
I wouldn't watch the Animal Control pilot or the Simpsons pilot and then tell my friends like, "Oh man, did you watch this new show? Catch the next episode next time." Well, because streaming is now, but back then I would have been saying, "Oh, next Tuesday, you gotta watch
this."
Or like, or not. I wouldn't even say, "Oh, you should watch it." I think you would like it. I wouldn't even do that.
You wouldn't even recommend it. Would you greenlight it?
Yeah, I think I would have greenlit.
You think so? Okay. Great.
Simpsons pilot, worth a watch.
Worth a watch.
Especially if you're a fan of the show.
The rest of the Simpsons episodes, worth a watch if you've never seen it.
Season 1 in general, is that something like where you just, skip it?
It's definitely, I would say Simpsons is a show where you can watch any episode on its own. There are very few episodes that require
What are we doing? We are the TV Pilot Podcast. That's on me. I apologize for asking about the season.
I have been Andrew.
I have been Gideon.
And
we don't know what we're doing next episode. So
join us next
time for or just open up the app, look what the episode's called, and then move on with your life.
We gotta name that next episode.
I was thinking that. I was just thinking that. Episode 6. Blank.
Thanks for listening to the TV Pilot Podcast.
Tell your friends, share it. Like I said in the very first episode, and I meant to say it every episode, just tell 2 people that you think would enjoy this.
Really pyramid scheme this.
Just send it on down the line. If just 2 people
can succeed, oh my god. We got it in the bag.
Heck yeah, man.
All right. Yeah. Maybe we got to cut that too.
Yeah.
It's very litigious.
Are they?
I think so.
Okay, well, Godfrey, keep us honest here. Keep us out of trouble.
Keep us out of trouble.
Peace out.
Peace out. I'm imagining a world where someone wants to listen to us for 3 hours straight. They just listen straight through.
Oh, that'd be a nice
They're
world.
cracking up. That's a knee slapper for them.
Yeah.